So, it is Christmas, which is such a funny thing, right? Because it's like, what does that really mean? If there was no calendar or no Instagram or like anything to tell me, I would have no idea that this day was any different than any other day. And for me, I live alone half of the time. I have share custody of my 13-year-old, and Ace says, "You're not totally alone. There's a dog." um, and so there's nothing like to tell me that it's Christmas, right? So I woke up my regular time. I went on my regular walk. Um, I'm going to have my regular, like, breakfast meditation journaling. And then I'm going to do some work sessions the same as I would on any other Wednesday. Um, and I know that it's Christmas, and so there's a story. There's a story that's being offered to me about, like, oh, what did you do wrong in your life that you're not with family, that you're not with your kid, that you don't have this big like hoopla around this holiday, that you don't have friends that invited you over, all of these things. And that is a story that can be very tempting and alluring, especially on days like this, where it's like, oh, I should be, or they should be. And as I notice that story and go, oh, yeah, that makes sense that you feel all of that. The culture is certainly screaming that at you. I also have the opportunity to be like, also, I made a lot of choices that brought me here. And some of those choices were out of like pain and suffering and trauma. And some of those choices were out of like, this is what's meaningful to me. I'm actually not a person who connects with the cultural norms very easily. I don't understand them a lot of the time. I didn't necessarily enjoy the Christmas morning like extravaganza growing up. I often felt confused and guilty, and um, I would often get like stomach aches or feel sick because the social experience was confusing to me and overwhelming. And my therapist really helped me this past week to understand when I was telling the story that I have social problems. And my kid had used that phrase and to describe a situation we were in about how I had social problems, which was accurate from his perspective. Um, and what I was, as I was describing it to her, she was like, what if it's actually that you don't have social problems, which is such a like negative, stigmatizing, blaming, judging word. But what if it's that you don't follow cultural norms? And I was like, actually, yeah. Because she was like, I don't get the impression that you're out there like being angry and aggressive and like mean to people or manipulative or lying or whatever. And I was like, yeah, actually, I don't participate in the cultural norms in the ways that people tend to expect. And that can create tension for good reason because people are like, wait, I thought this is how we do this and you're not doing it. And I often am like, yeah, I don't want to do it. And then people are like, what does that mean? Like, are you judging me? And then it can get weird. So it's a combination of like both I don't understand as a result of my neurodivergence, my autism, whatever you want to call that. But then there's also like I don't give in and share the values of following the cultural norms, and so I'm purposefully. It's like if I'm invited to play a game and I say, I don't understand the game and I don't want to play the game, and then I go over here and go, I'm not playing the game. So there are really good reasons why I don't have that sort of like traditional thing. And there's not a great reason for me to, like, it's not motivating enough for me to change what I, like, how I interact, or, part of it is that I can't figure it out, can't pull it up. Um, but it's like the story about me being a problem, that one's not super useful. So it's there, and I get to be aware of it and say, like, hey, I love you. I know that that is what you have been telling yourself. And I know that that kind of helps some of that some of the pain that comes up around the like, why can't I figure this out? Um, and uh, this is like not necessarily because you're bad or wrong or a problem. It just sort of is how this ended up with your particularities and the way that the mainstream culture works, and so how could we make this meaningful today, um, and support that part that's feeling a little sad at the same time. So, what I love is any kind of thing that sounds fun and interesting to me. So, I'm excited for my regular day. I love my work and I love my regular routine. Um, but because I have this like awareness that there's a little bit more vulnerability today, um, as a result of this like cultural norm thing that's happening, I am going to do something that I have been wanting to do, but I've been scared to do it. And it sounds fun to me. So I am rereading a book by Martha Beck called Finding Your Way in a Wild New World. And it's got some things that I don't love in terms of some appearance oriented and like fat phobia things. So don't read it if, you know, beware. Um, but there are some really fun exercises in there about like playing with sort of magical technologies, and lots of amazing stories about animals. But there's the spoon bending practice that she talks about that she's like, anyone can do it, right? And I have always been like, oh yeah, sure, anyone could bend a spoon. I believe that. But I didn't want to try it because I didn't want to not be able to do it. So I am going to try it consistently every day until I get it, because there's not a good reason for other people to be able to do it and me not to be able to do it. And I think it would be really fun and satisfying. So, yeah, creating a project is basically what I like. Create an exciting, playful project that will support me in times like this. The other thing is I went and bought some material last night. I'm working on a new quilt project. And I have my PhD stuff that I'm working on now. So there's that. So I have lots of fun things to do, huh, Ace? Say hi. Hello. Okay. So here is how Martha Beck describes it. So you take this is my version of her version. You take a spoon, okay? I cannot. And what's really fun about this is I have a whole set of silverware that's still from before I was divorced. It's like one of the last things that I've hung on to. And when I was listening to the book yesterday, I was like, oh my God, like I should do that with this silverware. Because she was like, I destroyed a whole bunch of silverware when I was doing this. I was like, I could destroy that silverware. That'd be such a good use of it. You want your toy? There you go. Okay, so take your spoon, and you get into what she calls like wordlessness and oneness, which is like sort of a meditative state. And what you want to do is like acknowledge the spoon as a consciousness and ask it if it would be willing to bend, and like get in there and feel it. And that apparently what's happening is like your consciousness um, can merge with tools, and they can respond to your directions, basically, because they like become a part of you. So let's try it. Okay, so I'm just gonna sit here silently for a minute. I'm just gonna say hello, spoon. I don't know. Are you supposed to press on it a little bit? So you're supposed to wait until you can feel that it responds and is like, yes, I am hearing you. Do you hear me, little guy? Okay, well, that's one try. And I'm proud of myself for trying it because I could kind of feel moments. And she describes this like you might have like a moment of connecting with it, and then she describes this more with animals. Like you might have a moment of connecting with the animal, and then you slip back into words and thinking, and it disconnects. And I was definitely feeling that because I was like, "Are we gonna bend?" And then I was like, "Oh, do it." So I'm gonna keep playing with it, and eventually, I'm sure it'll happen. Sweet little spoon. So interesting. I think maybe I'll watch a video of someone who actually does it. Okay, so come up with something fun. A lot of the time, I feel like passing the time without doing anything like dangerous to myself or others is a good enough use of time. I have a little tattoo here that says, can you see it? Good enough. It says good enough right there. Um, and if I can come up with something nice to do, good enough, and it doesn't harm me or others, then it's a good use of my life. Um, love you, love you.